JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. And you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of any of the other channels? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. They don't even read any of the comments. But I think it's the opposite. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about what would a loss mean for Patrick Mahomes. I gotta go back and forth with this for a few reasons, and I have some pretty strong thoughts. I feel like I know what they're going to say, but I'll let them, I want to hear what they have to say first, and then we can kind of go break it down from there. But I kind of go back and forth, and I think I have some pretty specific thoughts that I want to share with you.
Okay.
Would it also hurt Mahomes' legacy, in your opinion?
I don't think it would hurt his legacy. Tom Brady lost to Nick Foles, all right?
And
twice
Eli Manning
Eli
twice.
Manning. Eli will probably get
only
Hall of Fame
because he beat Brady.
Right, that's the only way
Like
he's going to
the
get
thing-
in.
like
He's
Eli-
a mediocre regular season quarterback.
Two lucky catches.
Right.
But and
The
so
ultimate
the
definition
reason
of
Eli
heroes.
losing to Eli is not considered a huge blemish is because he
Because it
beat
happened
Tom
twice?
Brady, and then and so it's a weird thing. It's a snake eating its
twice,
tail
right.
on
No,
what it
that's
is.
true.
But go ahead.
That's true. So, no, what it would do is slow down the GOAT talk.
Yes.
It wouldn't take him out. Nobody would say, oh, he'll never be the GOAT. I mean, there might be some haters, but nobody really would say he can never be the GOAT now. But it would slow it down. If he wins this 3, Nick, and it'll be 3 in 4 years, it'll be 3 in his first 6 years as a starter, not me, I don't think you. I do think there will be some saying he's the GOAT. Some on TV will say he's already the GOAT.
Well, no, they will say.
I think there will be I will not. I will not.
Hold on. But Wilds, what I think you might say is that he has reached the highest peak of anyone. And for some people, that's what they value. Yeah. I know, and it, oddly, for Wilds, it's what he values in a lot of sports things. Yeah, Wilds talks all the time about how he doesn't care about compilations, counting stats, longevity. Stats. Yeah. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. But you care about
Phillip Rivers guy?
No, you care about counting stats when it's counting rings. That's the only counting you care about.
Like
but here's the thing, and it's very apropos that it's in Vegas. Because we have Patrick Mahomes' first, and likely only, house money Super Bowl. The ultimate free roll.
House money?
Yes, because all of the comments are on tape and documented. We have people for the last 3 months saying, if Patrick Mahomes can get this team and this collection of receivers to the Super Bowl, it'll be the greatest accomplishment of his career. Just get him to it. And it's not just, by the way, I'm not poking at Brew. Brew did literally say that, but he was not the only one who said it. Because this team has been considered wounded and bad at various points of the year, because they were predicted to lose in round 2 and lose handily in round 3, and now, even though the Niners won't accept it, the Chiefs are the literal underdogs in this game as well. Mahomes is in a very weird spot where it is all reward and almost no risk.
Right.
And so where people talk, what I think.
So I don't necessarily agree with that. I understand his point and his argument. But okay. So would a loss hurt his legacy? Not necessarily, because as I've said before, losing in the Super Bowl, especially when you win a lot, doesn't hurt you as much as, say, like the NBA Finals. Like when we were looking at LeBron James, if he could ever pass, if he could ever pass Jordan, the whole thing is that Jordan went 6-0, which is now something that even if LeBron won 6 championships, he didn't go 6-0, he didn't go undefeated. So that has always been seen as like a major stamp of look how elite Michael Jordan is. Tom Brady has lost a handful of Super Bowls and has even won some Super Bowls in very lucky fashion, and yet he is the GOAT, and no one gives any sort of qualification saying, well, he won 7, but, well, he did lose no one ever really says, well, he did lose to Eli and he did lose to Nick Foles. Like, they don't count that as a dig against him. They really don't. I mean, he even had a strip fumble against the Eagles, which you would think would be not a good look for the Tom Brady, but yet, like, no one ever really talks about it. They don't see it as, like, he did something wrong. And when you really watch that play, he was about to get tripped and he still tried to, like, rush it out when maybe he should have just hugged it. Like, he should have just saw what was happening and been like, oh my God, and held on to the ball. But, like, no one really takes that away from him, so to speak. And even when Patrick Mahomes lost in the Super Bowl, they all say, well, it was his offensive line. So a loss doesn't necessarily hurt you, especially when you've won a handful yourself, right? So I don't know if a loss would necessarily hurt him. But I will say this. A loss will be another indicator that Patrick Mahomes isn't unstoppable. Because I think if he wins, this will continue to be a huge step forward of people saying, like, this man is unbeatable and unstoppable. And if he loses, though, I do think it will poke holes in the illusion of the bubble of that and be like, okay, well, listen, so you're saying his team wasn't as good, but, like, Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT, though. He should be able to win with anyone. I mean, and I don't necessarily agree with that at all. I keep saying that you need to have a good team around you to win, but, like, if you're Patrick Mahomes, then you should be able to transcend that, is what the argument often is. Not to mention, this is going to be his easiest path to a Super Bowl than he's going to have for a very long time. One, you have the luxury of going up against a quarterback who has not proven himself fully yet, right? Brock Purdy has not proven that he can ball out in a Super Bowl or that he can win a Super Bowl or win an MVP. He just hasn't yet. Even if you think Brock Purdy is going to be the best quarterback ever, he's just not that right this second. So that's a luxury now. You got to go up against the Miami Dolphins, who were just never really that special of a team, and it was in freezing cold. You went up against the Bills, where their defense was unfortunately decimated. Again, the Chiefs won these games, so I'm not taking anything away. But the path was really not as hard as when you think about it. The Ravens absolutely imploded. They were the leading rushers throughout the whole season, and then they just suddenly decided to say, we're just only going to hand the ball off 6 times. Just what we're going to do now, which was obviously an absolute disaster. Flowers having a meltdown, getting a taunting penalty, reaching out, one of the dumbest things you're taught not to do in Pee Wee football. Boom, fumble the ball, changes the game. Like, just bad play. And I don't see that moving forward. I don't see that happening again moving forward. You can't bet on injuries against Josh Allen. And I think the Bills are going to be more aggressive within the next few years. And if they have another down year or they don't beat Patrick Mahomes again, they are firing McDermott. I mean, I think they should have already. They're going to go out. They will probably make a play for like a Ben Johnson or who else, who knows who will be available at that time. Even a McCarthy would be an upgrade at that point. So you have that. Harbaugh has now entered the league. Make no mistake about it. Harbaugh and Herbert are going to be elite. It might not be next season, but it will be within the next couple seasons because you do got to give Harbaugh a minute to like get everything situated here. And and again, you can't bank on Joe Burrow to be injured. Joe Burrow should be healthy, ready to go. Let's go. The Broncos, Payne is going to be making moves. They're getting a quarterback. Okay. They're going to do something big. Those players are going to, that team is going to get better. The Raiders should, in theory, also be better. So that's just his division right then and there. Not to mention these other teams that are getting better. CJ Stroud is going nowhere, seemingly, right? If CJ Stroud has truly proven to be that dude, how do you think he's going to play next season? That's a big deal. So you have a lot of these teams are going to get better. The Packers are going to be better. The 49ers will be better. The Eagles, now that they got hopefully their defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, right? As long as they stay healthy, they will be better. Tampa Bay's better. Like, just everyone's getting better. This was a weird down year with a lot of injuries, or the players or the teams that were good. There was a lot of immaturity and just, it was new. Detroit Lions will be better. So this should, in theory, be the best time for Patrick Mahomes to have a less than elite team, a less than elite offense at least, and be able to make it to the Super Bowl and even win a Super Bowl. Because next year, Travis Kelce's going to be even worse than he was this year, most likely. I mean, he's just getting older. That is just the reality. And I don't know if you're just going to expect your wide receivers to suddenly be able to catch the ball. I don't really know. It'll be interesting to see. But you have to imagine that the offense isn't necessarily going to be taking some giant step forward. Maybe the defense can continue to grow and get better. Or since they played so great this past season, you have to potentially factor in that they might not be as good. That they'll take a step back because you could only play so great for so long and sustain that. So I think that's where that kind of, again, it doesn't necessarily hurt Patrick Mahomes' legacy, but if he loses, I think that also now you're allowing other quarterbacks to potentially catch up. Justin Herbert starts to ball out now with Harbaugh. People are going to talk about him way more. Joe Burrow's back to being healthy, balling out. They're back to talking about him. CJ Stroud, if he continues to grow and ball up, and that was just his rookie year. What if he continues to truly make noise and be that dude? People are going to start saying, oh man, CJ Stroud's the next. I mean, what if CJ Stroud wins a Super Bowl next season? What are people going to say? He's only 2 away from Patrick Mahomes. Who's to say that he can't win another couple in the next 3-4 years? Now he's tied with Patrick Mahomes. It just changes everything. And we are in such a, immediate gratification society right now that everyone's really high on Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not saying that I'm predicting that to change necessarily, but if Patrick Mahomes goes a few years and doesn't make the Super Bowl or doesn't win a Super Bowl, and then a CJ Stroud does, or a Joe Burrow does, and let's say Joe Burrow wins 2 Super Bowls within the next 5 years, and again, it's hard to ever really predict. I'm just saying in these situations where if that does happen, yes, Patrick Mahomes will no longer be seen as, I think people will still consider him potentially the GOAT or the future GOAT, but I don't think his weight and name will hold as much, and advertisers won't rely so heavily on a Patrick Mahomes because they'll want the new person. They want to highlight Justin Herbert. They want to highlight Brock Purdy. What if Brock Purdy wins a Super Bowl? Do you really think that guy's not going to be everywhere in commercials? That they're not going to Progressive or whatever? It's always these insurance companies. Like, Brock Purdy will be everywhere. You think he's not going to be in a Subway commercial with Steph Curry now, and they'll be like, "Hey, Mr. Irrelevant, you want a foot long hoagie or whatever, sub?" And it's Brock Purdy's gonna be like, "Yeah, I do." You're gonna see him everywhere. So again, his legacy depends how we want to define his legacy. Is it just on the field? Is it off the field? Is it fame in general? So a loss, I think, would hurt it in that regard, especially because it gives the chance for these other players to potentially elevate, especially Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy wins a Super Bowl and does beat Patrick Mahomes, and dare I say, if he even outduels Patrick Mahomes, that will be massive. That'll be the storyline all off season and into the next season. And again, like I said, I would say that Purdy would be everywhere in commercials. Not to say that Patrick Mahomes is suddenly going to be dropped, because of course not, because he's still Patrick Mahomes, but it'll be a little different. It'll be the fame and the attention will be spread out a little more. People will also care a little less than Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I mean, obviously the Taylor Swift fans are still going to care about that, but that relationship in general will matter a little bit more because a win continues to boost it up. The moment where they're on the field, kissing and hugging and everything's great, confetti flying, Mahomes cheering, him getting the MVP, all of that, fantastic. If he loses, it's, them looking off. You see Patrick Mahomes staring off into the distance, zoning out like he does, holding the mouthpiece in his mouth, and then him probably shaking some hands, and then him going into the locker room. Same thing with Travis Kelce, and then you don't see Taylor Swift on the field. It just changes everything. But those are my thoughts on that one. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Do you think Patrick Mahomes' legacy would be hurt if he won, if he lost, and do you think it really would boost him if he wins? Please let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would truly love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really, really does help with the visibility and the algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.